the Executive Director of Equal Rights Advocates, and I'm chair of the Stronger California Advocates Network. Woo! You guys are good on cue. And I know it's a rainy day, but that doesn't bother us. Because what's happening is the rain is coming down and it's washing away discrimination. It's washing away exploitation of workers. It's washing away harassment in this building and in places across the state and country. Because we are here to launch the 2018 Stronger California Women's Agenda. Are you with me? The Stronger California Advocates Network is a coalition and network of over 50+ organizations and coalitions with deep experience fighting for economic security. We've got a couple here represented. By the way, there are 50+ and we represent millions of Californians. So we know what we're talking about up here in terms of this agenda. We've got the Consumer Attorneys of California that I think are here. We have Parent Voices with a big morning of hearings. We've got the California Employment Lawyers Association with the best civil rights attorneys in the entire country. And we have the California Domestic Workers Coalition. Are they here? A couple of years ago, we decided we were really tired of waiting around. We wanted to accelerate the pace of change when it comes to women and families, and in fact, men and children in entire communities. And so we partnered with the amazing members of the Legislative Women's Caucus, some of whom you'll hear from today, to build the Stronger California agenda. And it has been incredible. We drive the nation's most progressive reform across 4 key areas to economic security. We are addressing poverty and building assets. We are fighting for fair pay, job opportunities, and workers' justice, including an end to harassment and violence. Are you with me? Yes. We are fighting for access to affordable, quality childcare and early childhood education. Are you with me? Yes. And we're here to support family-friendly workplaces because we should be able to work and have families too. Am I right? Yes. So, really, when we got together, we said, we're going to stand together on a very visionary agenda. We're not quite sure what's going to happen. But let me tell you what happened. Over the past 3 years, we have passed groundbreaking, trailblazing legislation that the rest of the nation has followed. We have passed the strongest equal pay law in the entire country, authored by Senator Hannah Beth Jackson. We passed the Domestic Worker Bill of Rights. We expanded paid family leave for working families. We got more parents the ability to bond with their children. And we infused in this state budget hundreds of millions of dollars to lift families out of poverty and give parents access to childcare. And I want to tell you, we're just getting started. You have your Stronger California press women card in your press packet, so please take a look at all of our wins. But we're here today with what is a new moment for the women's movement. The Me Too movement in this building and across the country has shed a light on actions we must take to ensure that women and people of all genders are valued, to ensure that sexual harassment and violence is not the price of a paycheck. Are you with me? Yes. The Stronger California Women's Agenda does that with a slate of bills that will be, mark my words, the nation's strongest protections against sexual harassment and violence in the country. It's going to be the strongest because right now, the time is now to say enough is enough. And you're going to hear from Mariko Yoshihara from the California Employment Lawyers Association and great legislative authors of those bills. They will combat retaliation. They will extend the statute of limitations for claims. They will abolish the forced waiver of workers' rights to fight harassment in court. They will improve training and legal standards governing these claims. California will lead the country with this slate, and this is a call to action to our sister states and legislators in Washington, D.C. Take this Stronger California slate of bills, take inspiration from it, replicate it, better it, strengthen it, because Your rights should not depend on your zip code. Am I right? And what's so compelling and why I'm so moved to be a leader in this movement along with the people behind me is that this agenda doesn't stop there. We are tackling all the obstacles. We're taking a comprehensive approach. And this agenda, and you're going to hear from these speakers, are going to be tackling deep childhood poverty, parents who need childcare, domestic workers, working mothers with lactation needs. It continues to push the envelope on fair pay and drive reform on bail practices that are disproportionately impoverishing women in this state. No one is left behind because every woman and family in this state contributes to our strength and they contribute to our soul. We are workers, we are consumers, we are breadwinners, and we are voters. And we have power to transform communities for all of us. The Stronger California agenda will exist until we reach our full vision of what we all need to lead economically secure lives. Are you with me? Yes. All right, without further ado, I'm going to start to introduce our amazing speakers today. First, from the California Domestic Workers Coalition, we have Erica Chavez.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Erika Chávez.
Good afternoon, my name is Erica Chavez.
Soy trabajadora del hogar y miembro de la colectiva y también líder de la coalición de trabajadoras del hogar de California.
I'm a domestic worker and a member of the California Domestic Workers Coalition.
Juntas vamos a lograr que nuestra Carta de Derechos que ganemos en el 2016 sea implementada y que las derechos que ya tenemos como trabajadoras inmigrantes sean reales en nuestras vidas.
Through AB 2314, we're going to ensure that what we won in the Domestic Worker Bill of Rights will be implemented and that all of our rights will be respected for all of the workers throughout this state.
Quiero también tomar un momento para agradecer el liderazgo de la senadora Connie Leiva, quien está presente, quien fue nuestra campeona con SB 1015, nuestra Carta de Derechos. Por favor, un fuerte aplauso para ella.
I want to take a moment to thank Senator Connie Leiva, who is here with us today, who is our champion with SB 1015, the Domestic Worker Bill of Rights that we won in 2016. And thank you for the applause.
Antes que llegara a la colectiva de mujeres, yo trabajaba con una señora limpiando casas por un año. Trabajaba de lunes a domingo. Mi horario de trabajo variaba, pero regularmente era de 10 de la mañana a 9 de la noche.
Before becoming a member of the Colectiva de Mujeres, the women's collective, I worked as a cleaning woman in houses for about a year. I worked Monday to Sunday, and my schedule varied, but I generally worked from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Ella solo me daba $100 a la semana cuando quería, y si no, solo me daba 50. Cuando calculamos eso es $2 la hora.
She only paid me $100 per week when she wanted to, and if not, she only gave me $50. When you calculate that, I was getting paid less than $2 an hour.
Yo estaba recién venida a este país y tenía necesidad de tener un trabajo, aunque ya existían protecciones en California contra este tipo de explotación. Yo no sabía mis derechos y menos de cómo me tenía que pagar.
I had just arrived to this country and I needed money, I needed to work. And even though there were some protections under California law against this kind of exploitation, I didn't know my rights and I didn't know how much they should have paid me.
Hoy tengo la información gracias a la colectiva y a la coalición de trabajadoras del hogar. Ya sé cómo negociar con mis empleadores y que ellos puedan respetar mis derechos, tener un pago justo y trabajar con dignidad.
Thank you to the Women's Collective and the California Domestic Workers Coalition. I now know how to negotiate with my bosses and make sure that they respect my rights and receive a fair pay and a fair work.
AB 2314 creará un programa dentro del Departamento de Cumplimiento de Estándares Laborales de California para ver estos cambios al nivel estatal y ver verdaderos cambios en toda nuestra industria de trabajadoras de casa.
AB 2314 will create a program inside the Department of Industrial Relations to ensure that these rights that we received in SB 1015 are respected, and to ensure that these changes are made throughout the state to ensure dignity at work.
Hoy soy líder de la colectiva y tengo un gran compromiso de seguir organizando, de hacer valer nuestros derechos, de salir a informar a la comunidad y de lograr, de organizar todas y cada una de las trabajadoras del hogar que puedan estar pasando lo que yo pasé.
Today, I'm a leader within the Women's Collective, and I am committed to keeping organizing women and making sure that our rights are respected, to make sure that the community is informed, and to make sure that everyone's rights are respected throughout this state.
Junta con un California más fuerte, lograremos y vamos a pasar la AB 2314 por nuestro trabajo, nuestra dignidad. ¿Se puede, compañeras? ¡Se puede! ¡Que vivan las trabajadoras del hogar!
Together, we will create a stronger California, we will achieve it, and we will pass AB 2314. Together, we will achieve fair and dignified workplaces. ¡Sí se puede!
Thank you.
And thank you, Jessica Stender from Equal Rights Advocates, who is one of our fearless leaders in Stronger California, for the translation. So next up, we have one of the many, well, I wouldn't say many. There are very few who have stood with us, like the people, the legislators that you're going to hear from today. And we're very, very grateful from the beginning. I am very proud to introduce Senator Connie Leyva, who is Vice Chair of the Legislative Women's Caucus and Chair of the Democratic Caucus of the California State Senate. Bring it up!
Good morning, Stronger California Advocates Network, and good morning to the amazing women behind me. Woo! It is such an honor for me to get to work with this amazing group of Wonder Women and enlightened men. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about Senate Bill 1038. This bill would clarify that individuals may be held personally liable for retaliating against a person for exercising their right to file a complaint. Currently, employers, that's right, you can yell for that. Currently, employers can be held liable for both harassment and retaliation claims, but amazingly enough, individuals can be held only liable for harassment, not the retaliation piece. Without holding an individual liable for retaliation, those who harass have an incentive to retaliate and try to prevent the victim from reporting the underlying harassment. SB 1038 will fix that by making sure that someone who retaliates against another or tries to silence or intimidate is still fully liable for their action. As we have seen in the Me Too, Time's Up, and We Said Enough, we're done. We're done. It's 2018. We are ready to move on. Clearly, yes. Clearly, California leads the nation on sexual harassment issues. The priority bills here today will further solidify California's position as a national leader on these issues. I thank you all for allowing me to speak, and let's do this. Si se puede.
Thank you, Senator Leyva. Next up, we have the amazing, energized to the max, leader extraordinaire, Senator Hannah Beth Jackson. She is a past chair of the Legislative Women's Caucus and was in fact chair when we brought to her this amazing idea of the Stronger California agenda. And she's currently chair of both the Senate Judiciary Committee and the Select Committee on Women, Work, and Families. Senator Jackson.
Thank you. Well, I'm delighted to see all of you, but this is the one.
Oh, yes.
This is the one. It's our future, and certainly our present. You know, we don't deserve any less. And I come from the gray-haired generation. We have been fighting this battle for far too long. Time is indeed up. Time is up so that you And this one will never understand why we had to be here today out in the rain fighting for the rights that we should have simply as human beings and as people who are committed to making this world a better place. So I'm delighted to be with all of you amazing women, and as we say, the few good men, we like your support. We could do this without you, but we do want you to be part of this as well. So together we have achieved so much. With your help, as was mentioned, we passed legislation I was honored to present on fair pay. The strongest equal pay bill in the nation, thanks to you and the work of Stronger California and all of the groups that are here today. Now, granted, it only took 35 years to get this overnight success. We are not going to wait 35 years for any more. And so together we have expanded family leave, and we fought for fair treatment for working families, and was mentioned, we need the time to bond with our newborns, both moms and dads, and now we will have it. But, you know, our work is not over yet, and this year we must focus on bringing gender equality and respect to the workplace itself. As was mentioned, the Me Too movement, we've had enough. They've refocused the national spotlight on sexual misconduct and harassment in the workplace, an issue that many women have faced throughout their careers, and many women are continuing to suffer through to this very day. Enough! We are done with that. And so, although sexual harassment is prohibited in most workplaces under both state and federal law, survivor stories, many of which we've been hearing recently, are gut-wrenching and indeed show the glaring policy gaps and the lack of implementation that far too many women experience today. We remain too vulnerable to harassment and violence, and we have got to close those gaps. We're doing it in California with some of the strongest protections against sexual harassment and discrimination in the nation, and I am honored to be authoring 3 bills that are part of the 2018 Stronger California legislative priorities designed to bring gender equality to the workplace. All right. SB 224 will make it explicit that the landmark Unruh Civil Rights Act, which is supposed to protect all of our human and civil rights, applies to the workplace to specifically include investors, legislators, lobbyists, directors, and producers. And indeed, given the recent revelations of how pervasive sexual harassment is in these types of relationships, where there's such a stark power imbalance, identifying them directly will help clarify that these relationships are also protected from work-related harassment. No more. Time is up. We are done with that. SB 1300 strengthens and fills important gaps in existing sexual harassment law. I'm a recovering lawyer. There are lawyers here. They are here to protect your rights in court. Yes. Because if we can't get them to do it because it's the right thing to do, we're going to sue them to get it, are we not? And we know that the existing law addresses some of the problems associated with defining the terms that we use. So this bill is going to help remove those obstacles in sexual harassment claims. It's going to put more responsibility on employers to take affirmative steps to prevent and respond to harassment. And it's also going to give guidance to the courts. When we say something severe or pervasive, we really mean it. And we don't want judges to decide that doing things that we know are outrageous or pervasive don't qualify. Yes, they do, and we're going to make sure that they make sure they do as well. So, Lastly, SB 1284 continues to build on the tremendous momentum we've had in California, leading the country on equal pay, again, starting back in 2015 with the passage of the Fair Pay Act. This bill is going to keep us in the forefront of taking affirmative steps to close that gender and race gap, and is a direct response to the rollbacks from that guy who is a little bit down south here today. Let's give a big shout out and say, we are better than all of the things you're trying to do to us, Mr. Trump. Are we better? Yeah. So this bill is going to require companies to file annual reports listing out their pay data by gender, by race, by ethnicity, to encourage and ensure that there is compliance with our equal pay laws. We've had enough. We're not going to listen to any more excuses. So it's time we take the lead in bringing gender equality to the workplace. Women deserve that basic right to pursue a career free from sexual harassment and earn a fair wage for their parents so that the next generation we know she's here in spirit, doesn't have to deal with what we're all dealing with now. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Senator Jackson. I also want to recognize a couple more of our partners that are here. The YWCA from San Francisco Marin, AUW, a great partner on all of our fair bills, and I see some folks in the Child Care Law Center. Yeah? All right. If I'm missing some, people can pass me notes as we continue. All right. Next up, I'm really, really so thrilled to introduce Assemblymember Eloise Gomez-Reyes. One of our tremendous leaders in the Legislative Women's Caucus. She's chair of the Environmental Quality and Green Economy in the Inland Empire. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Y como dijo Erika, sí se puede. Sí se puede. Well, thank you so much. What an honor to be here with you with such dynamic women. Thank you so much. I represent a little area in the San Bernardino area, and from San Bernardino we bring you good wishes. I want us to remember that something that we all know. Women play a pivotal role in the California economy. Women are decision makers, not just politically and economically, but they're also the decision makers in our families, as consumers, and as community members. As women, we are keenly aware of the pervasive culture that fails to value and protect women, a culture that lives in darkness and fear. But the time has come to change this culture. Yes. The time has come to acknowledge the struggles faced by women in the workplace and society. The time has come to change attitudes, to speak out, to come and demand accountability. The time has come to break the silence and bring transparency. Yes. The time must be given to victims, not to the perpetrators. The perpetrators must know that time's up. That's right. This is why I introduced AB 1870, the SHARE Act. The Stop Harassment and Reporting Extension Act, also known as the SHARE Act, will allow victims of harassment in both workplace and related to housing accommodations more time to bring their claims forward by extending the current one-year statute of limitations to 3 years. This legislation takes one of the shortest timelines to allow a woman to exert her legal right. This is the shortest timeline in current law, and now it will extend it to 3 years. Many of the brave women have contacted my office to recount their stories of finding their voice to speak up about the harassment they experienced, only to find out that the time was up for them. The one-year statute of limitations had already passed and they could no longer bring a claim. We have to ensure that our laws provide equity and justice rather than loopholes that can leave victims without redress. Perpetrators can no longer hide behind the protection of the law. The law will now protect the victims. I've also introduced AB 1867 that will require that records of sexual harassment complaints be retained by employers for 10 years so that we can track these complaints and ensure that the repeat offenders cannot hide anymore. The conversations of today and the change against the culture of sexual harassment are happening because of the bravery of those who stepped forward to say, we said enough. The best movements happen because the people demand it. You demanded it, and we are responding. The time has come to acknowledge the struggles faced by women in the workplace and in society. We have reached a real turning point where so many brave women have found their voice to resist and reform the status quo. Women are taking the lead and speaking up to bring change to our society and to the very institutions. I am proud to be working with my colleagues in the legislature, and more importantly, I am so proud that we have an organization, Stronger California Advocates Network, that is working on the legislation that's going to bring about the real change that we as women need across our state. In conclusion, I don't want you to give in. I don't want you to give up. I don't know who I'm talking to because none of you are going to give in. None of you are going to give up. We're going to continue to move forward to ensure that the silence that has been broken never returns again. As Maya Angelou said, each time a woman stands up for herself, without knowing it possibly, without claiming it, she stands for all women. Por todas las mujeres, adelante.
And you know what's really cool? All these laws that we're, of course, going to pass, right? Yeah. All these people behind me are going to help us enforce them, right? Yeah. That feels pretty good. That feels pretty good. Next up, we have from Parent Voices, which is a member of our steering committee and such a force in this Capitol and for people across the state, millions. We have Antoinette Andres. Welcome.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Maria Jandres, and I'm a parent leader for Parent Voices. And I am here to represent all the women and mothers and immigrants like me that come to this country looking for a better future for their children. I am here because I would like to tell you a little bit of my story. I came to this country with a law degree, but unfortunately, for me to be able to practice law in this country, it will take me years, it's costly. So I started to work in a law firm where I wasn't compensated as I should be compensated as a paralegal. And I decided to go back to school. I wanted to continue my higher education. And with the process of that, I was involved in a very abusive and domestic violence relationship. As many women here, sometimes we stay quiet and we don't want to say what's going on in our lives. But I decided that that wasn't the future I wanted for my baby. That wasn't the future I wanted for the rest of the kids in this country. So I decided to leave that relationship, move to San Francisco area, and continue my higher education. When I found out that I have to be on a wait list to be able to go to school, to be able to find a job. So how does a mother dealing with the trauma, with the stress that she has with the kids, has to also deal with not having childcare, not having someone taking care of the most valuable and the most loving person or children? I would like to tell you that I was going through a lot of trauma. I ended up being homeless. I ended up not having a place where to live with my child. And until that time comes, I was able to access to childcare. No women should be able or needs to be in that situation to be homeless, not to have anything to eat in their table in order to have access to childcare. Childcare is one of the most important, if it's not the the only most needed necessity that we women have. Today, I stand proudly. I finished my paralegal certificate. I earned social behavioral science. I continue going to school. I'm working part-time, and I'm also here to represent all those women and tell them, we can do this. Yes. We are able to do this. We are very, very strong, and we have to empower other women to overcome trauma, overcome crisis. We are not alone if we work together as a community. And also, we are asking for a $1 billion investment to help more families have affordable childcare. Yes. There should be no more kids waiting on wait lists. There should be no more mothers have to deal with, don't know that I can go to school, don't know that I can get a job because I don't have affordable childcare. Every kid should have affordable childcare and stable childcare where they're being loved and they're getting the education that they need. I'm very happy to be today here because my child is in a safe place. He's with someone that is teaching them, that it's giving them the love that he's missing when I have to be at work or when I have to be doing my homework or at school. We're asking to support the SB 984 by Senator Mitchell that will protect our most vulnerable families from being in deep poverty. Let's get out of the poverty. Let's make this Stronger California a reality. We cannot be as strong with the Golden State if we have the highest child poverty rate and families are not achieving their dreams. Families are not getting out of the shadows. Let's fight together. Let's empower ourselves. I see we are a big diversity here, and we are the only ones that can make these changes. Let's overcome all the barriers, and let's make our families stronger, healthier, and let's truly have a stronger California. Children learning, parents earning. Come on, everybody. Children learning, parents earning. Children learning, parents earning. Thank you.
Okay, next up we have another amazing member of the Stronger California Steering Committee who's been with us from the beginning and works tirelessly to advocate for all the bills on our agenda for the past several years. Mariko Yoshihara, please come up. She's from the... Give it up, give it up. I love it. Mariko is the Policy Director of the California Employment Lawyers Association.
Thank you, Noreen. Shout out to all the SELA members. We are so honored to stand with all our organizational partners to help launch this Stronger California Advocates agenda. Our attorneys for decades have been on the front line defending the rights of women to be free from harassment and discrimination in the workplace. We are now at a critical moment where sexual harassment is finally getting the attention it deserves. And we need to harness this moment to ensure that our laws are strong enough to put an end to this kind of pernicious and pervasive workplace abuse. We have had enough. Yes. SELA is proud to be an organizational lead working along with ERA and AAUW on the Fair Play and Workplace Equity pillar of the Stronger California Advocates agenda, which will now include a slate of bills to address sexual harassment in the workplace. Because sexual harassment is not just about unwanted sexual advances, it is about power. It is about barriers and obstacles to career and pay advancement. If we want to close the wage gap, we have to address all forms of discrimination that women face at work. And in a recent poll, 46% of women said that harassment caused them to leave their jobs or switch their careers. This has an enormous impact on working women and their families in California. It affects all industries and all wage levels, which is why we are so proud to partner with the Legislative Women's Caucus and again, all of our organizational allies here to tackle these very important issues. We're not only going to address fair pay, we're going to address sexual harassment. We're also going to put an end to forced arbitration. AB 3080 would prohibit employers from requiring workers to sign forced arbitration agreements that force workers to waive their workplace rights. So we are not only going to have the strongest sexual harassment laws in the nation, we're going to prevent employers from forcing workers to waive those important protections. We believe that all workers deserve to be paid fairly, treated equally, and be given the same opportunities to thrive and succeed in the workplace. Thank you.
You know, a couple of years ago, I remember talking to someone about this agenda, and you know, they said, you really should, in this sort of day and age, you should take what you can get. Well, I'm here to say I'm proud that the Stronger California Advocates Network does not do that. That time is over. We are leading with the vision of all the things we need, often simultaneously, to lead economically secure lives. California is home to 12% of the nation's women. What happens here matters. We've got a couple of marches that we've got to do before we get these laws passed. We've got to march into that Capitol and do some hearings. We've got to rally the Assembly floor and the Senate floor. We've got to get the governor to sign them, right? We've got great people who are going to march to the courts to enforce them. But then we have to march to every state in this country. We got to take our bills, we've got to photocopy them, and we can tell them, you can do this. We all can do this. Stronger California can be the stronger entire nation. And I want to thank everyone here and our entire network for making that possible. Thank you for today. We'll be back.